Yuki was running at full speed through the winding halls of the Infinity Castle, Kanao and Inosuke following closely behind as she ran. Kanao and Inosuke were having a hard time keeping up with Yuki's demonic speed, and tried to call out to stop her, or at least slow her down. Yuki, slow down! We can't keep up with you if you keep going at this speed! Kanao yelled, hoping her words would get to Yuki. I can't, Kanao, she called back, not even turning around to look at the two of them. I can't let them fight Kibutsuji on their own. They can keep that demon lord occupied, Inosuke shouted, getting irritated with Yuki's insistence of getting there so soon. We don't need to be rushing at full sprint. Yes, we do. I've already lost my entire family to Kibutsuji. I can't lose Kyojuro too. He's all I have left. Kana was worried that Yuki was letting her worry control her actions, but she knew that they wouldn't be able to convince her otherwise. Hurry ahead then! We'll catch up with you soon. Are you insane, Flower Girl? We'll get lost within these walls if we lose track of Snow Cone. Don't worry about that. I'll leave a trail for you guys to follow, Yuki called, before dropping a small piece of her torn-up Haori, before sprinting further into the castle. Yuki knew that the only way she'd be able to find Kibutsuji in this maze of a castle would be to use her powers to sense their auras. She focused her power, watching as everything went into X-ray vision. She didn't see any auras at first, which she thought was strange, but she soon saw a single black outline up on the surface within her line of sight. She knew it was Kibutsuji. She had seen his outline once before, on that day she woke up restrained inside the Infinity Castle. Yuki channeled more of her power, running as fast as she could while also remembering to leave the trail behind for Kanao and Inosuke. She channeled as much power as she could without overexerting herself and surpassing her limit. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, the fear and anger filling her body as she got closer and closer to the surface. She was praying that Giyu, Tanjiro, and Kyojuro were okay. She took a deep breath to calm herself, recentering her mind as she continued to run through the halls. Even though she was running extremely fast, she felt like everything was moving at a snail's pace. It felt like an eternity for her to reach where they were all fighting. As she got closer, she ended up picking up a scent that she never liked. The smell of blood. Damn it! Why the hell can't I find them? They're injured, I can tell! She thought to herself, before she could finally hear the sounds of fighting getting closer and closer. Almost there. Yuki knew where they were, finding herself no longer in the Infinity Castle and up on the surface in a small village, watching as Kibutsuji was fighting Tanjiro. Only Tanjiro. Where were Giyu and Kyojuro? Yuki! She heard a voice call out, looking back to see Kyojuro waving for her to come over, putting pressure on a deep wound on Giyu's abdomen. Yuki saw this and immediately ran over, feeling that intense worry washing over her. Giyu! Are you alright? Don't worry about me, he said, coughing up a bit of blood. Help Tanjiro. I'll be fine. No. That's what Shinobu said to me before she died. I'm not letting you die too, you hear me? Yuki screamed, before creating a wall of ice around them to protect them from any sort of harm from Kibutsuji. She looked up at Kyojuro, her eyes glowing slightly. Stand back. What are you going to do? He asked, looking down at Giyu's injured state, not wanting to take his hand off the gaping wound. I'm going to use my powers to heal him. Now stand back, Kyojuro. It's going to get bright. Kyojuro did what she said, taking his hands off of Giyu's stomach and stepping back. Yuki took a deep breath before she began to focus her energy on his wound, putting her hands on it gently and making her hands warm, before a blue orb formed in them. The orb was incredibly bright, making the both of them squint their eyes as they watched Yuki do her thing. Giyu could feel a tingling sensation where his injury was, and felt the pain start to go away completely. He saw Yuki pull back and wipe sweat from her forehead, looking down to find that his injury was completely healed. Giyu and Kyojuro were in complete and utter shock, not knowing that she had the power to heal severe injuries like that. "You never told us you could heal people," Giyu blankly stated, getting off the ground and brushing himself off. "Well, I didn't know I could until about 30 minutes ago," she stated right back, before she stood up and prepared to break the barrier of ice she had surrounded them with. "Get ready, though. Now we have a demon lord to defeat once and for all." Both of them nodded their heads, readying their blades as Yuki broke the ice around them. The ice made a loud crackling noise before it shattered completely, filling the room with tiny ice crystals and chilling the room to its core. Tanjiro and Kibutsuji were surprised, but Kibutsuji could only laugh seeing Yuki there. "Ah, so the half-demon finally decides to make an appearance. It's about time you showed up. And only with minor injuries. What a shame. It would have been nice to see you fatally injured." "Your tactics to make me mad aren't going to work this time, Kibutsuji." "Who said anything about making you mad? I was just saying what I wanted to. Oh well. You being here just adds another demon slayer to my kill list." Kibutsuji aimed an attack at Yuki, continuing forward with his onslaught of attacks, not giving anyone in the room the chance to breathe or rest. "Mitsuna Fureku, he's never going to let up!" Tanjiro called out, trying to get closer to land an attack, but was not able to get any closer. "I see that. We need to find a way to get closer." "Maybe Giyu and I could run around while the two of you try to get closer," Kyojuro suggested, fighting against the relentless attacks himself, blocking as many of them as he could. "It's worth a shot," she replied before calling out. "Go! Try and keep him distracted." The two of them nodded their heads, rushing around Kibutsuji to try and distract him. Unfortunately for all of them, Kibutsuji knew what they were doing, and was still able to fight all of them. "You're going to have to try a lot harder than that if you want to kill me. You're weak compared to all of the other Hashira I have fought." "Damn it. What are we going to do now?" Giyu asked, struggling to keep up with Kibutsuji's unrelenting onslaught. Yuki was desperately trying to come up with a plan to get close enough to strike him, but she couldn't think of anything, which made her even more nervous than before. "I don't know." Kibutsuji could see the uneasiness in everyone's eyes and posture, and laughed at them. "You're all pathetic. Can't even come up with a solid plan of attack because you know it would be instant death if you get too close. You can't defeat me." Yuki gripped her blades tight, growling under her breath as she got incredibly angry. Then her body began to move on its own, quickly charging towards Kibutsuji with reckless abandon. "Shut up! I'll make sure you die!" "Yuki, don't!" Kyojuro called out, realizing it was too late for him to stop her. Kibutsuji could see the pure rage on her face, and he raised his hand, sending out a wave of energy from it, which made Yuki stop in her tracks. "Your anger just gives me more ammunition to use against your friends." As he said that, he snapped his fingers, and she immediately felt a sharp pain in her head, a pain she recognized all too well. He was trying to control her. "Yuki, don't let him take control of you," Giyu called out, trying to get up to her and Kibutsuji. "Don't listen to him. Focus on my voice. You were always mine to control. I just have been waiting for the right time." Yuki had dropped to her knees, dropping her swords and gripping her head in agony, trying her best to not let Kibutsuji's influence take hold. "No, I won't submit." Kibutsuji laughed at her resolve, watching as she continued to struggle against his will and power. He continued to walk towards her, before violently grabbing her chin to make her look up at him, his eyes glowing that reddish pink they always did. "Stop resisting me, Yuki. You know you can't, so just give in to my power," His grip tightened around her chin, feeling his nails digging into her skin. Yuki let out a cry of pain, feeling him giving her more of his blood. He really was trying to turn her into a complete demon to use against the rest of them. She could feel her humanity starting to slip away, feeling that demonic urge getting stronger and stronger. Kyojuro saw this, immediately charging towards Kibutsuji himself. "Let go of her!" Kibutsuji sent out an attack towards Kyojuro, hitting him in a very severe spot. Giyu saw this and ran up to him, seeing how bad the wound was. "Kyojuro, are you alright?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. "I'll be fine. Worry about Yuki for now. We can't let Kibutsuji turn her into a demon," he said, coughing up blood as he removed his haori, desperately trying to wrap the wound. "I can't just leave you like this. You're bleeding a lot, and the wound is super deep. You'll die if you remain untreated. This doesn't matter. Please, protect Yuki," he begged, struggling to even breathe properly. "Stay with him, Mr. Tomioka," Tanjiro shouted, before beginning to charge towards Kibutsuji. "Take care of Mr. Rengoku. I'll deal with Kibutsuji myself and try to save Yuki." Kibutsuji saw Tanjiro running towards him and went to attack. Tanjiro was very quick, dodging his attacks with some difficulty, but with Kibutsuji holding on to Yuki, he was worried about hitting Yuki with one of his attacks and killing her by mistake. But then... "What the hell? What just hit me?" Kibutsuji shouted, before reaching his hand behind his neck, pulling a syringe out of it. He threw Yuki to the side, now looking to see Inosuke standing before him with his boar mask on. "Ha! You shouldn't let your guard down, idiot!" Inosuke called out, taunting Kibutsuji as he helped Tanjiro get closer to him. As Tanjiro and Inosuke continued to fight Kibutsuji, a gentle hand rested on her shoulder, before she felt a needle go into her neck. She winced from the pain before she felt herself beginning to return to normal. "Are you all right?" Kanao asked, looking at Yuki with a gaze filled with concern. "I think so," she quietly spoke, looking at Kanao with a smile. "Thank you." "You're welcome. Now get up. I need to tend to someone who's heavily injured. Help Inosuke and Tanjiro," she said, not letting her know that it was Kyojuro who was injured. She didn't want Yuki to focus on who was hurt, but rather have her focus on taking out the Demon King once and for all. Yuki nodded, picking herself up off the ground and charging towards Kibutsuji. Inosuke and Tanjiro had been getting in minor strikes on the demon, and also noticed that his movement was starting to slow down. Shinobu's medicine was working on Kibutsuji, just like she had said. Yuki knew that it was her chance to strike him down for good. She gripped her blades incredibly tight, watching as they turned a crimson red from the intense heat her body was giving off. She channeled as much of her power as she could, feeling as her Demon Slayer mark appeared on her cheek in the shape of a snowflake. She looked at Tanjiro, going and charging towards Kibutsuji. They ran side by side before jumping into the air and aiming their strikes right at Kibutsuji's neck. Both of them managed to strike it, each on opposite sides of each other. They were going in with so much force that they could feel their blades starting to slice through his neck, which was incredibly tough. "No!" Kibutsuji shouted. "I won't let you kill me!" He started to let out attack after attack, them now going even faster than they were before in his panic of actually getting killed. He was desperately trying to get Yuki and Tanjiro off of him, but he couldn't. His efforts heavily injured anyone who was in the vicinity, but then a light caught everyone's attention, striking fear into Kibutsuji. "Keep going! The sun is rising!" Giyu shouted, running up to help them finish him off. "This is where you meet your end, Muzan Kibutsuji!" Yuki screamed, her voice becoming demonic as her eyes and swords shone a teal light, finally slicing through Kibutsuji's neck completely with Tanjiro's help. As his head started to fall to the ground, a large explosion went off, sending everyone flying back into all of the rubble from the now destroyed village. They could hear Kibutsuji's voice echoing through the air, a final warning to all who could hear. "This isn't the end of the Kibutsuji name. You may have won this battle, but you won't win the war." His voice fizzled out into the air before another explosion went off, sending more debris flying, burying everyone underneath as the sun finally crested over the horizon.